before. I was trying to get somebody to cover so she could come here.
She might also have
She's like all the
Shit,
others.
I want to stand.
Huh?
Sorry.
But he always
I
gives me a
got
chair with
shorter
arms.
than the chairs.
Yeah, he doesn't, yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know why. It's not like he's got anything to catch. I gave him the crap about his office chair.
Oh, I know, yeah. He comes to my work sometimes and eats, and there's a
Okay.
has arms on it, and then he tries to get
I think that's
chair with him.
I can't imagine all that year on. I carry my little Leatherman.
Plus I drive school
But
bus,
I'm rich.
little kids, yeah, I just do it all.
Keeps
me busy. I love kids. I love kids. I do. I'd much rather put up with kids. Kids are so much more forgiving.
Yeah, I should have stayed home, stayed at my daughter's volleyball.
In my 25th year, so.
On the bus, 25?
Yeah. I remember kids.
Early to rise.
That's the only part I don't like.
What's the first stop, what's the first pickup time?
6:30.
It obviously doesn't matter to me. I just need to.
He ran
so I
for
can
mayor
do
during
your
the
job.
election.
My kid this year got 7:20 and she's gonna start. That's the latest we've ever got on a bus.
I know. Yeah.
They're all in.
Sorry.
What's that?
Yeah, come.
I really did.
They should.
I looked at my life and check. I need to go.
Yeah, I know.
The exclamation board.
You know,
I can do that.
Oh, you're excited.
I know.
Lately. Call somebody that's one.
Yeah.
But that's what you
Do you need one?
Yeah.
Anybody need an agenda?
He should have got old.
Then he felt bad.
Yeah.
You just trying to.
Yeah.
You want to share one?
I think I got that. Well, just let her.
Yeah, you take care of the water.
It's like, why did you stir the salt? Indirectly.
Well,
Oh, yeah. I'll eat one.
But I mean, he gets to know that I'm the kind of person that I don't stop speaking.
yeah. And I mean,
What's that?
And he was like, okay.
Yep.
They do. Part of the patent report says how much we spent, and the next report says how much we brought in.
So,
But then more but one or the other, if I could decide, it's all in one, like.
yeah.
Some are trickle.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm fixing it.
Can you hear me at all?
I can.
Can anybody else?
I didn't take your paper. Earl? Jerry?
Jerry, are you here?
He said no. He says yes. Okay. Christina? Here. Tim?
Here.
Mary? Here. Rhonda? Here.
Okay. That being done, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as written?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guess we're going to have a public forum. So in order to do that, I will read this statement. At this time, the public will be recognized. Each person seeking to address the council will be recognized for a maximum of 2 minutes, with the exception of 2 people. You must provide your first and last name, your city of residence, and the topic of the discussion before beginning. After you have spoken, you may exit at any time, or you may quietly observe the remainder of the meeting. Hope everybody understands. Okay. So, who wants to speak?
Scott Layfield, City of Canton. Been a crazy year, hasn't it? I wanted to talk about the streets and drainage. We've been working on this stuff for quite some time. And you're going to get a presentation tonight from Wilson Dirt Works. And he's going to go over some things about how we can proceed. There's money currently allocated in the budget to start this procedure. We've talked numerous times with our accountant, and he continually pushed that we need to start putting together a long-term plan. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is something that's going to be an ongoing thing year after year. We'll just hammer away at this stuff. Sean will give a presentation about his thoughts on how to proceed with this thing. We got to move on this stuff. The money's there to get it moving, and we really need to make a move. Sean and I have been working together for a year on this thing, and it's went nowhere. So I really hope you guys will consider that tonight and start taking the steps forward. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Israel Moyer, Canton resident. I'm the adjutant for the American Legion here in Canton. And we have a water leak, and we are requesting that we go ahead, or if you guys would be willing to adjust our bill for that. And help us out. We're a nonprofit organization. We don't have a lot of money. We're fighting to keep the doors open. So
$600.
Yeah, I don't have the breakdown of the bill, but total it was 666 and some change. What is it typically?
$60.
Something like
I'd actually like to make a motion that we pay water and sewer for the Legion for that fact, because they do so much for our community, for our veterans. It's not much, but I think it'll help. And me and Christina have both talked, and I know my $10 a month, I'd like to donate it too. So,
if it helps pay a few bills. Or I'm telling you,
Yeah,
can do it.
you can take my money that I'm supposed to get and donate it to the Legion. I have no problem with that.
Our veterans and our community especially, I'm not gonna use the $10. So I'd rather it just go donate back to our city.
so I guess part of my motion is that we don't charge the Legion at all for water and sewer going forward.
You said it's usually $60 a month.
Yeah.
Let me go look. Yeah, it's probably about right.
Any discussion?
You can take mine, I don't even get my money, so whatever.
That's an open discussion.
No discussion.
You asked Jerry, can you hear him talk back?
Hey Jerry, can you hear? She says, thumbs up.
He wants to donate his.
Jerry, they want to know, do you want to donate your $10 thumbs up? He says.
Or right there would almost cover your bill.
Right.
Monthly.
Yeah.
So I'll make a second that we waive their monthly bill.
Motion has been made and seconded to forego the utilities for the American Legion in the city of Canton. All those in favor?
Just fix your water.
The motion passes.
I think we got it.
Jerry, are you in favor of the motion?
My understanding it was that one of the toilets was kept running, wasn't it?
Yeah, they got it fixed.
Cause I know when I read the day I read the water bill up, I went right next door and said, Mary, there's a problem.
So hopefully you fix the toilet.
I think we got it fixed yet.
Great.
Any other? Yes.
My name is Tina Peterson. I've talked about this time and time again. I do not believe the majority of these people can hear what you guys are saying. You had mics, what happened to them? Seriously,
Say they're in
this
the
is
closet.
very frustrating. We need to all speak up.
Yep.
Yeah, well, as I say, where are the mics? You had them. They're in the closet.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Well,
But I'm confident I can speak loud enough for everybody.
you're the exception.
Okay, thank you.
You're the exception, no question, but even hearing the other people, you're talking to each other, you're not talking to us. Please, it makes it so hard to come and hear things out if you do not speak up. Thank you.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, first of all, you need to adjourn out of the council meeting and open the public hearing.
Okay. So we will adjourn the council meeting temporarily, and we will
I motion that we close our council meeting at this time.
And I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Close the council meeting. And open the, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good evening. Rosemary Saunders with Branson Financial, and this is Doug Getz from Wilson and Company. We've been working with the city on the water well project, and we're refiling the application with the Kansas Department of Health and Environment because they have allotted more money towards your project than what was on the intended use plan last year. And in order to increase those dollars, which is $1.8 million, we put a notice in the McPherson Sentinel on August the 7th, which is part of the application requirement, stating that we would have the public hearing tonight. And so after we're through with the public hearing and go back into the regular council meeting, there is a resolution that the council needs to consider, which basically states that you want me to go ahead and complete the loan application to KDH&E. This is due October the 14th, so it's right around the corner, but there have been many aspects of the loan application that we've already been working on so that we can submit pretty much everything by that due date. And so I'm going to turn the information over to Doug because he is the engineer on the project and he can talk the technical aspects of what has been done and what needs to be done.
Okay, go backwards a little bit in history. You guys had worked with KDH&E over the years from a perspective of contamination of slightly more than manganese. You've got 3 wells, if you're familiar with it. You got 11 west to east, 11, 10, 7. Each one of them are disinfected by themselves, which is a requirement by KDH&E. KDH&E had reached a point right before this program came out that they weren't quite sure where they would come up with any money to actually address a problem. But you had been working with that group that's in the remediation side. Then what they did was they created an emerging contaminants program. Key trigger point is called manganese for that. So anything that we're talking about, even though we might be addressing arsenic, nitrates, things of that nature, the way to get funded is to talk about manganese. So as things evolve here from a funding aspect, that's your key code word in their eyes that puts you in this pot for $1.8 million. Previously, when they didn't know how to fund it and there wasn't a lot of money in this program the first year, we applied for what we could apply for. Just get in and try to see if you can get on the list, get something right. Then you got ranked real high. Then they didn't have enough funds for everybody. You weren't the only one in that position. I've got 2 other communities that were in the same spot here. We're like 3 years, 4 years into this thing. But what do? You don't have the funds yourself to be able to take the project forward. So you've kind of been a victim of how the program's evolved. But at this stage now, we've asked, can we go ahead and build a 1-point chlorination disinfection facility while we put in a well or 2 wells as we fix this. So if you think about long-term approach, you're trying to bring everything to a blending point, make a new point of entry to your system, which is what KDH&E cares about the most. When you sample there and blend so much amount of water and so much manganese from this well versus arsenic versus this, that you're underneath the MCLs, which is the contaminant levels from all aspects. It's better than a treatment plant, right? So keyword is manganese, even though we're attacking more. Some years ago, Ned Marks worked with the city from the geology standpoint. We've still got him on board. The big thing is to get his activities funded so that you can do some test drilling. And those are eligible costs. Legal, administration, engineering, any of those soft costs under this program are eligible for reimbursement. So it's kind of like a construction loan and construction. Now it behaves like a construction loan. You take once you're in, you get it. You take a disbursement and you pay your bill. After you get the money, they deposit it to you, then you pay the bills, right? So up to $1.8 million. we were in for 900,000 last year. Rosemary and I had some discussions with KEG about we really would like to not do a multi-phase project. We really would like to, if funds were there, it'd be 1.8 million. So that's why we got to reapply. That's why we're here again.
So we get you more money.
Yeah, it's just one of them rules you got to play by. So we'll go ahead now that it's 1.8 million, revise the preliminary engineering report that goes in conjunction with the application, fine tune it, change all the costs. It's fine. It's just part of what we do. We know how that system works. So by the 15th, we'll be putting that with Rosemary's package, and making that one complete application. So at this point, I guess the best news is, even though time has not been on our side, the best news is the dollars go up and the residence user rate does not have to be raised to fund the debt service. There is no debt service when it's over. There's a lot of towns would be love to be in that position right now. So as we have the public hearing tonight and we talk about potential other wells, your existing wells, part of the reason there's some contamination involved, as Ned has talked about over the years, is how construction was years ago versus how construction is now. And the contaminant levels have always, they don't go up, they come down. So if nitrates were 20 some years ago, now that active level is 10 milligrams per liter. So nothing's ever gotten easier, it's only gotten more stringent, right? I'm not saying it's any worse, better, or worse water for you, but by all means, that's what the rules are. So that's what you're left to play with as a council. So we would venture to say, as you got now, you don't need to go move and find other water. You've just got grouting issues with your existing wells, that if we were to put in new wells, we will grout them off and keep arsenic out, keep manganese out. It's a constructability thing is what it is. And you can't go in and deal with what you got, because it is what it is right now. You got to move over and put a new casing in. So anything we do would be an offset from your existing water rights. We're not applying for new water rights. We're just taking the water rights you have and transferring. And that's where Ned will come in throughout that process. So we've got his costs programmed in. Everything's programmed at this point under 1.8 million. I had turned in a pre-app when we started this at 1.6, but they put you in for 1.8, so I'm not going to argue with it. So I'm going to go back and revise everything to 1.8, right? So if you see something somewhere in a chart that you got or a letter that said 1.6, it's really confusing.
Yeah.
But if they're going to offer 1.8, we're going to take it, right? We'll figure out how to do water improvements with that. So nothing moves fast, but that's been our key, is nobody wants to fund those planning costs. And this program actually funds that.
As well as construction.
Yeah, as well as construction. So with that, I guess.
Do we know where we need to go with the wells?
That's what the test drilling will tell you. Yep. And we're doing that for some other communities. Basically, you sink some test holes, see what you got for formation, then put a test well down while we're out there. When we find the spot we like, that's when we sink the test well, then we test pump it for 15 hours, pull water samples, send them to the lab, see what we got, and then start to have that's quality and quantity. A lot of it is a sacrifice of quantity versus quantity. What can you live with to be under the MCL, to not over pump? And so a lot of it has to do with pumping rates. And a lot of the existing old wells was just theory or methodology back in the day was sink it and pump. Well, there wasn't that many rules in play back then. So we'll know as the test drilling goes, and that's what we've been asking for some program to fund, is that. And we also put in an application to the Kansas Water Office, separate from this. If that gets funded, then we'll fund the planning out of that, and the 1.8 can be construction only. So if we ever show back up and say,
Yeah, that was the one that was due last Friday.
so if we say change of plans, that's because we went for planning from them, as we did the year before, and didn't get it. We could just use the 1.8 for construction. There's no penalty for that.
Was there a number on that second one?
Is we went in for engineering, design, test hole drilling, a little bit of administration, I think maybe a little bit legal, maybe what, 399,400 if I'm remembering the number right.
It's either that or like 350.
Wasn't this right here?
Well, it's part of
piece of
it's a part of that. So it's the engineering, design, the test hole drilling, part of for administration, because we'll need to do the drawdowns and everything to the Kansas Water Office if you're funded. I think we did put a little in for legal in that. So and as Doug says, what we put it in is for what they call the technical section, which is planning. to get you to construction, so.
And that wouldn't penalize what we're here for tonight. You would just use these funds for construction. And you don't have to use the whole 1.8 million. By all means, we're gonna try. But you would just move where you pay for what, is how that would work. But it would all be, either one of those were grant funded. As long as it's water related versus in a supply aspect. And then the other half of it was, we got those 2 supply lines coming for town. What part of what we built in there is to tie those services over and take the line that's a problematic line, make it a backup, isolate it, not use it 100% of the time so we don't have a leak problem, but still keep it in place. So if we ever had a problem with the other one, we could at least get by.
So what you're projecting is the city, you would stay under that, or what if we went over that? Then would
Once
that-
you get to the point you would open bids, let's just say the bids
Okay,
came in at
yeah.
1.9, it's a great question.
Okay.
If they did, what you would do is go back and ask them, the cap on this program is depends on who's applied and not applied, but we would go back and say, we've opened bids, let's just say we're at 1.9 instead of 1.8. Would you, KDHE, based on the framework of what we did, amend it and give us another $100,000 to complete the project?
Okay.
There's a likelihood they would say, not right now, or maybe, but as long as you played by the rules to get to that point, that conversation is a valid conversation. And I just had it a couple weeks ago because we didn't apply for the threshold. If you went in and applied for like 3 million,
Right.
you're gonna call him and have that discussion, he's gonna say no. But I can tell you at 1.8, he will have that
They will
discussion.
consider it.
So how many others are in this pot right now, or are we just the only ones that?
Well, with KDH&E, it's who's on the intended use plan for the emerging contaminants. On the Kansas Water Office, we actually don't know how many applications went in because there was 2 applications that you could put in. One for technical, which is the design aspect, and then the other is for construction, which means you're shovel ready and you're ready to start construction, or you're in construction and you have a shortfall because bids came in too high. And so we don't know how many applied for each section yet, since they were due by 11:59 last Friday night. So yes, they're telling us they would like to have them awarded by the end of the year, but we don't know.
But if we don't get that one, we can survive.
Yes.
Because of the public hearing for the SRF that we're doing tonight, we still have a path forward.
Yeah.
On that one, there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 communities in the emerging contaminants. And this year, for the first time, they drew a green line that was what they called the funding line. And they haven't been doing that. They've been, I don't want to say not been transparent, but they've been trying to manage the program because they don't know what they're getting. And so they've never drawn a line. This year they drew a line and you are above. So it's a less gray, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's more black and white.
Which is why we're trying to go, because we're like, okay, this appears to be the year that it's actually legit, but we want to be 1.8, not 9.
And we want to have everything into KDH&E, so they can't say, well, you don't have a full application in, so we're going to move on to the next community. And so we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's at this point, if you want to call it that.
The only problematic piece is that we submitted what they call a waste stream analysis for the disinfection building like 2 years ago, and I've asked if that's still applicable or needs to be redone. I have a hunch we're revisiting that at some level because the gentleman that's in charge of all that really likes to do things multiple times. So I'm a firm believer we're probably doing something on the engineering side to accommodate that for the 15th of October. We'll navigate that as however they want to be appeased, if that makes sense.
Whoever has the yellow sheet with
It's right
me,
behind
okay, if you have not signed it, please do so. That includes everybody here and all of council. And that will go in with the public hearing notice and that to KDH&E, so we can show them, who is in attendance for the meeting and that, so.
I guess the only other thing that could be confusing for people is if you look at an application that was sent in and public says, well, if I wanted to see that, you have to treat this like a construction loan for right now. So you are marking 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
We're checking the box for a 20-year loan agreement. It's not that grant until the end of it. So it is a loan by terminology. And as you get through this thing, then when you get to the end, then they amend it, and then they wipe it all. So somebody from the public could definitely get confused in the sense of, well, the council signed a loan agreement. That's a terminology thing from KHE's aspect that they can't deviate from that. It doesn't get wiped clean. And if you don't use 1.8 and use 1.5, then they'll amend it at the end to 1.5 and then wipe it. So
And
can be
that
really
is called
confusing.
loan forgiveness, if you hear that term come out. So some people call it a grant, but technically, according to the program's rules and guidelines, they have to write it as a loan, and then they can forgive it, as Doug says, at the tail end.
That can be really confusing.
Yeah.
So, once again, terminology.
But if you get the application in by, you get to the next phase, they'll send you a draft loan agreement for your attorney to review. Next step would then be to accept it. So you're really not even at an obligation level until that point. But if you didn't take it, they're gonna go down the line to the next one.
Right. Yeah.
And that's,
All righty, so what we need to do is to
well, if there's no other questions or comments, you'll need to close the public hearing and reconvene the city council meeting.
So if there's any public
Yeah,
questions.
you do.
you have questions.
Has the ground been secured for the test well?
No, because until you do the test drilling, you don't know.
How do you do the
What
test
you
drilling
consider.
if you don't have the permission?
We have permission to start that process.
You do have that.
Just not to finalize any long-term easements, parcels, or I'll call it permanent. You'll basically do the test drilling, get your water quality, then knowing what you have, you're working hopefully from an offset from an existing right and an amendment to the easement that you have.
And
So right now, we could go drill right in the easement for the well we have, and they have the best success ever and not move. Goal would be to not move very far.
That's
You
your
can
goal.
pull it off.
And I know from talking to Ned at the beginning of this, he really expects that he can go and stay within the easement that we already have and find good water. He really believes that,
Do you
so.
get deep in the well then?
No, the easiest way to explain it is you have a casing pipe, and then you've got water coming in the
Right.
screen. Right now, what we have is we got a deep screen across a whole framework of water, and your nitrates, your arsenic, your manganese, they like the upper echelon of that. But what we don't have is a good grout to keep that upper part of the aquifer from coming in. So we're gonna basically grout off. The goal would be, if the test drilling shows that, is to grout off the bad parts of the water. Is the easiest way to say it, and keep them from coming in. Because in the old days, it was basically more screen better, more screen, more water. Well, unfortunately, more contaminants higher. So
They can't reline those wells, still in it.
you can't fix the drought problem. You can rely on them, but it's not going to change that the screen's still this long. We got to grout off and shorten our screen to the part of the aquifer that we really want the good water out
Get
of.
down to the better part of the water.
Yeah.
You'll just eliminate a portion of the screen and use the bottom.
Yeah, we just won't have as much screening in essence. And to reduce your flows in certain scenarios, not necessarily with the screen, but more with like a variable frequency drive, where you can change the rate of the well. So in the old days, it's just turn the well on at 60 hertz and run her wide open. Well, that draws everything. You create a convex aquifer where the top water cascades in less bad water in certain scenarios. But we'll know what water is good water and bad water because the test wells will be at different levels. So you can test off of this one, test off
You'll
of that
actually
one.
punch a new hole there. for the
We'll
test
have to
well.
test holes, like 2-inch holes, to get formation of what we got, what kind of soil we got, what clays, what sand, how depth of sand. Then after you know what you got off of that, you'll drill a test well in the best formation based off of that. Like you said though, theoretically the formation is good right now. We don't think we even need to move like 100 feet off of a potential well. and just construct it properly. And it's not that they're not, I don't wanna make it sound like somebody constructed some wells that aren't right. That's how you made wells back in the day. You just, the more water, the better, right? That was just, that's methodology, right? There was no limits on arsenic, nitrates. So you just, the most water you could get was the best water for the tank. So once the levels, like arsenic was a 20 milligram level at the state level, once EPA said that's 10 milligram per liter, you were a town that was no problem, and all of a sudden you were a problem. Just by the change of the rules, you now just became that guy.
And you're not
You
the
were on the
only
radar.
community in the
Yeah,
state
you're not.
that happened to.
You're not. We're drilling test holes in a lot of towns. Yeah, I was drilling test holes
There's
last
no
week.
issues with the watershed district or anything for all this to happen.
What we'll have to do is when it comes time to offset, like, so we have all the test drilling, we have all the data, we have everything we want, we go to the Division of Water Resources, and now we gotta refile our permits. So we have existing permits, we gotta refile them. They'll probably have to notify everybody in a certain mile radius that owns a well that is properly notified DWR. If you don't notify DWR, you won't get contacted. If you follow the rules and play ball, those people will get notified that the city of Canton is working towards an offset. They're not intending to pump any more than their water right currently allows. And those people will be notified that they won't be hindered, if that makes sense, and a negative impact to you if you were the irrigation well guy next door. You want to know you won't be negatively impacted. Well, if we don't test pump, we can't prove that. So we would be telling him, oh, we got your back. And he's like, yeah, but I don't see anything that tells me you do. So that's why you have to do that exercise, is to be able to file the paperwork that everybody else gets notified that you're not impending them or doing more than what your water right will allow you to do. An offset like that, and to keep as close as you can, is the easiest. If we start to offset like a half a mile, that becomes way more paperwork and a lot more justification. So theoretically, if we can build a properly constructed well and keep, not every well out there has the same problem. So earlier when I mentioned manganese, one of them's high in arsenic, one's high in nitrates, one's high in manganese. That's the reason for blending them and sampling at one point. Right now, the city has 3 point of entries in KDHE's eyes. Each well pumps and is disinfected right at its well, and so that's your point. When we bring them together, now you have the opportunity to take high arsenic water over here with low arsenic water over here and blend them together at different flow rates to get below the
So we have enough water out there currently.
Yeah,
It's just when
it's just the construction of the wells.
President, well, number 7 is no longer in
Seven's offline. And we do only have 1 point of entry by the state, because our 2 wells.
Yeah, it's a very gray point of entry.
Yeah.
Right, but they have one that they recognize.
Right. I have a couple other towns there that way. You're using a pipeline blend.
Yeah.
And realistically, somewhere down the line, that could come back to where EPA won't allow KDHE to recognize that. So, hence the reason we're trying to fix that at the same time. And like you had said when we first met, like if we could get enough funds to build the blending, we would do that. But if we can only get enough to do the well, then we do that. Well, here we're trying to get the full encompassed project.
Right.
We were scabbing a little bit early on. I hate to say it like that, but that's what we were faced with, because we couldn't. First, they wouldn't tell us how much money was even available. So the first year, it's like, well, I don't think you want to apply for very much, so we didn't. And here we are, right now. The paradigm has shifted, and which is a lot of all that money that you hear that is trickling down. It just so happens to be that KDHE is the administrator of it through the SRF fund, which was already a program. They just didn't have the emerging payments. So the report that we're writing is really focused on manganese, even though it's not all a manganese problem. KG knows that, but they've said, go ahead and apply under this program.
So what are we looking as far as timeline? I mean, by the funding, once you get your engineering side done, to get it out to bid.
Well, the application first and foremost is due October the 14th. Then KDH&E will do their in-house review of everything. In the meantime, Doug's office and Ned Marks will be working on the test hole drilling and putting together plans and specifications to go to bid.
Well, as soon as we know that the loan agreement has showed up, that's our time to have Ned get a couple of quotes from some drillers. And then, not to hijack it too much, that is one of the hardest tasks right now. Those guys are booked solid.
Yeah.
That could be months to get a well driller in here.
Yeah.
What,
Unfortunately, sorry, it took Jetmore 4 months. Because they're doing emergency repairs. And I've got projects going on that are new projects, and they're pulling off of those jobs to go fix repairs because during all this drought, they're just constantly running around fixing existing wells. So that's going to cause some time. But we can't start any design efforts until we know where we're going. So, you might be looking at construction summer of 25.
right, and that's kind of why,
Realistic.
what I was trying to get, I used to work with engineers because I was a project estimator for years. And I know you guys build in some inflation into those. And so, but, if we don't start till 2025, we have enough inflation built into it that in summer of 25, when we start, by the time we're done, summer of 26 or whatever, that the 1.9 is still going to cover.
I've tried to. Now, I'll be
Like I said,
brutally honest, the last 2 to 3 years have been really hard to even cover.
materials have gotten stupid. But
Yeah, but they are leveling down for whatever that's worth. And the other half has been contractors. Like if you do the test drilling and you get that to a point, we've had 2 or 3 projects and we just haven't advertised it because there's no bidders available. The guys that are reputable in this industry that do it are the guy that won the Belle Plaine water treatment plant a month ago that Rosemary and I are working on. He can't even start for 6 months, and it's a year construction, and he was the only bidder. So I'm bidding another job next week, and he told me I'm out because I can't even get the Belle Plaine one done. So we're hoping that somewhere that changes. But what has happened is all this influx of this money. This sounds great because it's 1.8 million. With all that influx of money, there's not enough help to get it done. Contractors that had 5 crews only have 2 crews now. So that's where we're going to fight, and that's a very valid point that he brings up. But timeline, I guess, that's kind of the hardest thing is because the public's like, it should have been built yesterday. Well, you can't get 1.8 million and not play by their rules, or otherwise you're going to raise. The only way to get it done tomorrow is to raise the utility rates by $30 a month for every user, and then you can start. But you just don't have that luxury.
Yep.
So now we need to close
Close the public hearing and reconvene council.
the public hearing. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing. We'll second.
The motion has been made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Now do I hear a motion to open the council?
One motion to reconvene.
I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded to reconvene the council meeting. All those in favor?
So do you want to take care of the resolution at this point? Okay. Morgan, did you make copies of the resolution for all the council members?
I did not, I only printed one.
Okay. Well, basically what it says is it's resolution 2024-03 in a resolution authorizing the completion of an application to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund. If you want to take a look at that real quick, it's their standard template that we use.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2.
This is not ours.
I'll go. I'm gonna
yes.
double check the number.
Yes,
It's
So you put it in the email to me that it was 2024-03.
Yeah, and then I emailed you at the end of the day because we had
Uh-oh.
some confusion. I want to double check.
It was a day.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would rather you take an extra couple of minutes and we have the right resolution number
It's
than
number 2.
number 2.
2402.
02.
Sorry.
Sorry, we have 5 should be.
It's still the same everything. It's just a different number in our records.
So the very last number gets to be
No.
02.
I
Can we
don't.
change that?
Yeah, go ahead
Or
and
sign it off?
referral.
I
Just
think
a-
it's just
you
one,
attest it.
yeah, you just have to read it.
Yeah, that's all I need to do.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution
2024-02. Authorizing the completion of the application to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund. Best to read it all.
I'll second.
And you are
Christina Smith. Christina A.
Gotcha.
You say it better than I can't say. Okay. So we're, hey, I heard a second.
Yeah, Tim.
Okay,
No, it has to be a roll call vote.
okay. Just say it again, please, in my place.
Give me the paper so I can read it.
Here, it's right here.
Oh, thank you. What's
At
the
the
number?
bottom, 2024-.
It's this right
Just
here.
read this right here.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm making a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the completion of the application to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment regarding a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund.
I'll second.
Well, you already have, but that's,
Right.
she's calling for a vote.
I'm calling for the vote loudly on his behalf, I guess is what I'm saying. Got it.
And that is a roll call vote, so.
So I asked, okay,
Yeah, so you have to call each council person's name off.
Tim O'Brien,
Agreed.
Christina Smith,
Agreed. Aye, whatever. Why am I calling? Jeez. Yes.
Jerry Kremeyer,
Yes, Steve agrees.
Rhonda Hamby,
I am in favor, yes.
Mary Jarvis.
Aye.
Oh, Earl Maltby, sorry.
No, he doesn't have to vote.
Okay, I didn't think so.
So I need your signature right there. And then we need your signature.
Oh, yep,
Yeah.
on yours, or do you want this one?
Go ahead and keep that for your records, but if you wouldn't mind scanning that
Yes, I
and
will.
sending it to me and sign that. And then who has the resolution? Okay, it's right here. Here, I'll take this one. So while he's doing that, I'm gonna have you sign here and seal, and then we'll have the mayor sign. And you will, I'll scan and send you copies of all this for your records. Okay, thank you, sir. That's okay, and one more signature there. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Appreciate you.
We will keep the council apprised of things moving along on the project. As Nick says, there might be a little time frame in there in between stuff, so please don't despair. Once we submit everything to KDH&E, we're on their time schedule. And they don't always move as fast as we like them to move, so.
I hate to say it, but there's still, those that did this last year, they're only trickling in now.
Yeah, I'm still getting loan agreements off of applications I did last October.
It's probably more of an anomaly, but I don't know. I hate to be that person that says that, but if you guys are sitting here in January hoping for it, that used to be the old timetable that used to show up in January after October, but.
It's my understanding that they don't appreciate phone calls questioning where your loan is.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. They might be fine taking the phone call. They've taken plenty from me, but the answer is the same.
Rosemary will tell you when
Yes.
the condition is right.
Right.
They're just overwhelmed. They
Yeah.
have no help.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Brenda up there.
yeah, she's taking, she's
working.
actually doing two people's jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in that because they can't get someone hired in to help her, into the position. So she's doing 80 hours of work at least for one person. So she's getting it out as quickly as she can and that, so.
Well, we got the ball rolling, so
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
And if we get a Kansas Water Office grant in the meantime, that will take care of planning. We would kick Ned and the test drilling off.
Yeah.
That would be the bridge gap.
And the city will get a letter on that, so.
I don't know the odds of that grant.
Yeah.
There's a million people trying to play in that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Guys.
Oh, the sign-in sheet. Who has
Right
it?
by the door on the.
Right by the door. Thank you.
Brian Schmidt,
It's not the pen. Okay.
Brian Schmidt, I'm the new Canton EMS director. I was asked to attend tonight so you could put a face with the name, I guess. I'm sure there's been concern over the past several months about the EMS service. We're kind of going through a rebuilding phase right now. I guess my biggest plea is it's going to take a community effort to make it successful. I'm glad we have a lot of these citizens here so you can talk to your family, talk to your friends. We need help, so the department will pay for the class. We've got government funds that will help pay for the class. So as far as out-of-pocket expenses or anything like that, there's no out-of-pocket expense to become an EMT or EMR. It just takes some time, some dedication, but that's kind of all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
Nice to meet you.
Good, thank you for
Thank you
stepping
for
in.
coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
So Wilson.
I'm John Wilson. I own Wilson Dirt Works, me and my wife. And my wife's originally from here, Jennifer Bacon, if you guys know her. Scott contacted me a little over a year ago about some drainage there on First Street, there straight east of the fire department. Sorry, I'm in and out of little towns all the time. I don't quite follow all the street names. I can get to where I go. And our discussion kind of grew from that to drainage, where do you start and stop, and then roads and so on and so forth. I put in hours and hours of doing some research on streets, and I guess I need some direction of where you guys want to start and stop. And where and not just to be blunt, I can't continue to put a lot of hours in there and not know where we're going and what I'm going to get paid for. Because right now I could go spend 40 hours on the laser and work and drainage on that end of town going that way and starting there and going out through the field to figure out where all this water needs to go. I think a lot of this starts tonight. I understand with different people that of the drainage there. I was talking about first east of the fire station. I think somebody said at one time there was a big drainage project that needs to go to the north and the east, and somebody farms that, it's not city property, but it's, I mean, there's knowledge somewhere of something started sometime and we need to pick up on that and figure, and it's just not get maintained. Where's the easement here, what we need to do. I told Scott, I said, I can throw a number at cleaning that ditch way out and it'll help because right now the dirt's that much higher than the street. And it'll help drain it out of that intersection, but it's not gonna fix the overall problem. And I'm not against going and cleaning out that dirt, but I just want it, it's that we need to work towards getting it all to drain out. On a wet year, it's just gonna fill up and then the street's gonna be full of water again, but,
initially that drainage went east and then south and back into the railroad drainage on the north side of the railroad.
they continued east there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the road, that is where that exited. The last thing done, they cleaned out that starting at First Street going east almost to the back of the property line. Then they've cut a ditch going back to the north and it stops at the tree row and it's lower than the field there. So that's just gonna continually be a pond in a wet year.
They used to go east and then at the property line, it went south to the railroad. When the railroad was active, that ditch was active. That's how all that water right there exited town.
And maybe has that railroad reverted back to the landowners or what's the story?
I'd say go do it and ask for forgiveness.
That's got, honestly, we got the landowner's permission on that side and say we're gonna try to stay. Honestly, I don't think anything ever come up with us.
And the same thing used to happen down here, we're fighting it with the township road. And I mentioned it to somebody here, if you'll get with the railroad, I don't think you can work on an active railroad line without their consent. But that whole quarter, the 3/8 to half a mile, all needs to be cleaned out, and that should be on the railroad's pocket. Maybe they'll contract Sean, but that, I mean, if you get a hold of, they're usually pretty good about getting on that stuff. I've got a contact the southern manager of UP from Crest South, and I'm sure he could probably get us in contact with the right person here. But that's as big a problem or bigger than what we got right here.
Yeah, to me, it looks like all of this end of town drains there, across them, there were 4 or 5 big culverts and down section line right there. So, and
those ditches haven't been maintained out in years.
I mean, and he just answered my point, but you gotta have a place for the water to go or it's just gonna continue to back up. Also, something we need to look at when we start, I brought this up with Scott a year ago. Where do you start and stop? You look at the ditches both ways from that First Street, and all the, many of the culverts are gone or plugged up, or so to do it right, you start replacing culverts or at least cleaning them out, and then you start on the streets. But there's some things we can do the gravel roads to make them better until we get to that point, but you don't want to put a lot of money in your gravel roads and then turn around and do ditch work.
Ditch work comes first.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. At this point, insofar as the roads are concerned, what we have to spend some money on is going to be fixing the damn potholes.
Yep.
So
that has to be done before winter hits.
So
I can't go any further than that right now.
So I called a few other towns that to do a city block of concrete, it's $75,000 or $100,000 if you're lucky. So they make, and I racked my brain and made phone calls for 3 months on this, but here's what I've come up with, and I wasn't quick enough. I had a presentation, I could put a video up, but they make, and it's easy to explain, but just think of a rototiller on the back of a tractor. It's got carbide teeth. Your guys', and not all the streets, but the the asphalt streets that are breaking up that are really bad, behind the bar, they're just picking a few, they're all pretty bad, but, so, you take a road grader or a tractor with a ripper and you rip it up and then this rototill, it's called the stone crusher or asphalt crusher rototill. It grinds it up into what we call recycled concrete. Before you do that, any patches that have been poured with concrete, you ought to go peel them out and get rid of them. The nice thing about that is inexpensive. And I'm just don't hold me to this because until we do, every block's going to be different depending on how much material you need. But, you know, I really think you do a block for, I'm going to say, $10,000 to $13,000 versus concrete. And it might be cheaper than that once you can do multiple blocks at a time. But you can get asphalt millings to bring in on top. You can get them abundantly if you're low. You still keep your gutter lines. You grade it and then you pack it. And some people do go back with some oil on top of it and pack it. There's a few streets that I know in Inman that have been done that still look good. They're maintainable after that. If you got pothole, you dig it out, add more asphalt millings. Is it a perfect world? No, but it gets the most amount of streets done and potholes fixed for the cheapest price.
What we have to do, I think, we have to determine how we're going to do that. And over a period of actual years, go through the whole thing. You can't do it all overnight.
No.
The only way I know to preserve what we have, so far as roads are concerned, is fill the potholes and make it as livable as possible for the winter. And you start something like this in the spring.
That's probably not bad, but if our winter stays mild, there's no reason we can't work on this all winter long.
If it stays like, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't, but there's no, the asphalt don't freeze, it's something to work towards. I just hate, but my suggestion at this point, if we decide that's the route that the city of Canton wants to go, start filling your potholes with asphalt millings and not concrete or coal patch, or it's cheaper, and then it's less work when we go and try to.
What's the proper way to do that? Clean the hole out and put a tack oil down and then put that down?
Probably, and roll it, pack it, whatever, unless you guys got a roller, we can, that's a process we can supply too, if you guys, I didn't look at it that way, I looked at, this reconditioning the streets and what I needed to do to.
I think Earl's just wanting to get it so you can drive down the street without get your false teeth out.
Right.
I mean, we can all in loads of asphalt millings and start down with a skid steer and a roller, and you just don't want to spend lots of time if you're gonna go through, and I don't think it's gonna take years and years, say it's, and I'll do like I said, don't hold me to this, say it's an average of $10,000 to do a block like I just talked about. For $200,000, you can do 20 blocks. I don't know how many blocks are in Canton, but that's a majority of Canton right there that, like I said, it's not a perfect world, but it's fixing your potholes, it's creating a drivable surface that can be maintained with your guys' maintenance department. So.
Is that what they do along the highway out here? On these approaches, going to is that what they did?
They just laid down asphalt. They just put millings down, just packed it in.
If you put millings of oil, if you get it, it will pack.
You gotta have your hole prepped first.
Yeah.
You're wasting money if you're not cleaning out the hole.
Yeah, you can't have water sitting in your hole.
You need to get the gravel out and put some tack down there for the.
Is there a road anywhere that these people could go look at to see what
I'm working on that. I think there's Elm Street in Inman that's been done, but I need to verify that. But it's.
Did they reclaim the whole street in Elm Street?
I can't remember. I need to go look at it.
Elm Street.
I will. I'm trying to find an example. This company's this company that makes it, I'd have to buy a $55,000 grinder to do this. We've got the rest of the equipment to do it, but I talked for hours to the salesman on the phone, and they call small cities townships there, but townships and cities, this is their go-to, because there's a lot of, he said, this is right up what we designed this for, because we have a lot of townships that are out of money, that their streets are failing, and this is.
How many years did they say?
16.
So my question is we have the trash trucks running down the road that are just stupid heavy, and I think that's most of the reason why.
They'll still blow it out.
Is this gonna hold up a little better, or
Well,
are we gonna get this all packed in and then them come run trash on Wednesday and we've got ruts down the road?
Yeah, it'll still blow it out unless you do some ground compaction underneath it.
yeah, you should be, these old road bases should be compacted.
Well, they're not holding up very well now. You're still
Well,
gonna have to
because
do
you got,
some
because
upgrade.
no maintenance has been done for how many years, and you got old asphalt.
You're gonna have to do some
I have
upgrade.
something to contribute to this.
It doesn't work.
If you do start ripping it all out and do subgrading, then you might as well, you're going to do asphalt and streets, and you're looking at over $100,000.
But to answer your question, yes, it's still gonna blow out over time. You're putting a Band-Aid on it for the time being, and it'll work.
Steve,
Yeah, my name's Steve. I live on Elm Street in Inman, and it looks like they reclaimed it, just like you were saying, and it looks like they blended limestone or something in with it, but they did it 16 years ago, and that street's, it's beautiful. I mean, it's like a cross between a regular street and a dirt. It's not a dirt road either, you know. But I see the guys, about every 2 or 3 months, they'll just run the blade down it, and it's a done deal. And the trash truck comes right by, and I don't see any real damage from the trash truck, but if there ever is, they hit it with the blade. Like I said, they run the blade down that street about every 2 or 3 months, and it's good to go.
it's not a
It's a
non-maintenance
simple fix. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because I see that trash truck barreling down the street all the time.
Would that be something we need to look at?
It's not a perfect world, but trying to get the most people happy in the quickest amount of time, that's the only option I've come up with.
Well, like John said,
In
we
your
need
budget.
to look at chip sealing in a couple of years after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think once we've got a base, fixed base, it's a solid base, and you add oil and chip seal, that's maintenance.
Right.
And the reason our roads are in their shape is, and I'm not picking on anybody, it's just lack of money and lack of maintenance. It's just.
Well, I think this is something that we all need to get together and sit down and talk about.
And if I have email addresses, I can send that video. And you kind of got to pick and choose. You can see it running through a field, crushing up stones. That's not what we're talking about. But then there's actually a section that shows it going down an asphalt road being ripped up.
Does it tilt it back up with the leg down?
You can run a roller behind it.
You run a smooth roller behind it.
But you have different attachments that go on the crusher or the tiller. My thoughts are most of these streets have big enough holes, and by the time you're going to be adding some millions back in, you grade it so you got some crown back on your road, then you run a roller, even. I hear you guys might have some oil. You can figure out how to pump it.
Yeah.
Earl, Ron is gonna get you those.
I don't know if there's any in there.
I was gonna say, otherwise he can just send it to the city office and I can.
They said that even a few of them have even experimented with slaying down oil and then crushing it, killing it, and then it
It might make 5 copies, that's right.
4 to 6 inches. You start.
80% or 20%. That's going to be 4 inches deep.
So you don't think your asphalt's that big?
No, a lot of the roads are not that. A lot of them are thicker than that, but a lot of the roads aren't more than maybe 2 inches, and that's where we're having the bust out problem. Is even like
Park last year, they came in, potholed, and then chip sealed it, and it's completely destroyed already because there's no base in those heavy trucks. The heavy trash trucks have just torn it completely up in less than a year. Because there's just no base. And like, in front of my house, I mean, it was dirt, and they laid a little layer of asphalt down, kind of as a patch job, and then chip sealed over it. So it's literally this thick from my curb to 6 foot off the curb.
What my suggestion on is there is, you know, the operator's gonna know by looking behind him if he's tilling dirt or asphalt. You till up the asphalt, and if we gotta bring in 3 truckloads or 80 tons for a city block to add a base back in. The good thing about it is if we choose down the road that you guys want to concrete or asphalt this block, or this block, this stuff's a good base underneath it. So it's not a complete waste of it. It's actually one step in the process. It's you know, it's done with.
I made a copy of our email.
Thank you very much. Anyway, that's kind of where on the asphalt roads, the sand roads, you know, material. You know, you gotta get some in the holes, and then you got roads that are negative cambered or coned instead of crowned. Then we need to reshape them and you know, rip them and reshape them. But I drive around and if you go drive in the country and the country roads, I got one township that I live, they don't hardly keep any material on the road, and their potholes and the other materials have this much, just like road gravel on the side, and the roads are nice. But if you don't have it when it rains and don't have anything on the roads, you're just gonna create holes and holes. And we got all the tools in our selection, from ripping up a road to reshaping it, just to patching it. That I don't know what to give you a price on or where to go. We need to know. I guess, you know, I need to know from the city council what direction, what do we want to work on first and foremost, and where we want to go from here.
Well, I think that, in my humble opinion, if we don't have the potholes filled this fall, I'm not talking during the winter, I'm talking before it freezes. Obviously, we don't have a constant freeze, but we have a freeze, and we have a thaw, and then we have a freeze, and we have a thaw. And what happens is, if you don't have anything in that, and you get a rain or snow, it's gonna melt, it's gonna freeze, it just magnifies the whole problem.
It is, but your whole road, if you walk down the middle of the road, the whole road's full of cracks. I mean, where do you start and stop? I mean, it's getting damaged every winter. That's part of the reason the drainage is important, to get the water off the road, so it's not sitting there freezing, busting up concrete. But I'm not disagreeing with you, Earl, that you need to get potholes filled, but it's.
Well, what I would propose, then, the first strategy might be to fill the potholes with grindings, if you want to call them that. Get that done, and then also make a plan of attack on how much we can afford, number one. And how we go about doing that. Certain streets that we could use as major thoroughfares, and some that may not qualify for that. But let's look at it and attack it, but let's be careful about our spending. So,
Do you have an allotment for roads, or how? I mean, because like I said, I'm looking at spending. You know, we go forward and decide that you guys want. I'm looking at spending $50,000-$60,000 myself. I'm going to want some kind of contract or agreement that, hey, I'm not going to go spend $60,000 and it's going to sit. I got enough stuff that collects dust and the rest of that. So. but like filling potholes, we're more than glad to come do that. I can't give you an estimate on, I don't know, it'd take me forever to estimate how long it's gonna take to fill potholes. I'll give you our hourly rate on our equipment and how much stuff, and I'm an honest guy, I've been in business 10 years, I'll give you all the referrals you want.
Let's start with that.
And,
let's get those potholes filled. Everybody will be happy with that, I
Oh, yeah.
think. And
Drainage.
Does
drainage need to come before the holes? Well,
Is there any way we can get like an estimate on the drainage? Because that's gonna be our next step.
so what, you want on like the first street project, or?
Right. Well,
And
because
where do you want to start and stop? You know, when Scott first got a hold of me, we were just cleaning out the muck from that, and
So did you look at the ditch along the old railroad?
no, I walked back, and then when we first looked at it, there was no milo. Now there's milo in there. They're that tall. I was back here this week trying to just scratch my head and decide how this is. Because there is a slough, before there's milo, there's a slough that goes off and through there that looks like that's where most of the water's been going, because the railroad right away hasn't been maintained, so it's down its way. John probably knows more than I do about that, because he looks at it all the time, but it's
My understanding about the railroad is that it's kind of been handed over to the Trails for Rails. And so that's who would have to be contacted about doing some stuff with it. And that's,
who farms that on the north side?
Okay.
John,
And-
like you're just.
So,
My only
Better not
argument,
give this information right now, just get it done, so we can keep at
As
least.
long as they haven't done anything with the rail bed for the last 25 or 30 years, they're not gonna.
yeah, and the rail bed is what they're looking at doing. Ideally, they want to put a trail all the way to Marion, okay? But right now, they've got money to come to Canton. So we're looking at going further than that on the drainage.
Well, and they, a little bit familiar with what they did over at McPherson, they didn't do anything down in the bottom. Everything they did was on top of the rail bed. I mean, that's where their concern is. And the farmers farm right up to the edge of the rocks and take care of everything else. So I'm with John. I don't.
My only caution,
so.
my only caution about doing pothole filling is I'm gonna go back to the mistakes that were made last year with Second Street. We put $22,000 into filling potholes, and where are we at right now? So it would have to be a temporary thing, and that's where we get into the millings, because if he's gonna grind the stuff up and lay it back down, it'd fall right into place. So yeah, there we go.
And the reason I bring that up is because they said that coal patch, they say you'll hate that when you try to run it through that machine, because it's soft and pliable and it sticks to everything. So they say
So what you're talking about is doing the potholes first, like Earl said, and then doing the drainage next, that would be okay?
well, we can do we got multiple guys, we can do multiple things. But if you guys want a number on that, say that drainage over there, I just need to know how it, or we're just gonna clean out to the back of the city property there and be done, or are we going to try to make it flow clear down and we'll have to wait till the farmer Arlen gets the crop off there, which won't be too terribly long, but then if we want to go clear south, I can actually shoot it then and make sure we've got enough fall to get the water out of it, and then I can come up with some more definite. That's easier to come up with a number within filling as in potholes. So.
The other thing that you might want to take a look at, we got a water collection problem in front of the high school. And it comes down to that ditch in front of Shiloh is plugged up.
No, it's the road, when they put that concrete road in, it's got too big of a crown. And so the water that pays should be going across the road to that drainage ditch, but the road has too much ground and can't cross it, and so it just sits there. Because it's supposed to run out that drainage ditch on the south side of the high school.
On the south side of the high school.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why it pools there at that Fairview and between Fairview and Shiloh, because all that water was designed to go that way, but the road's too tall now.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
Sean, you just get on the south side of the entrance to the south parking lot of the high school.
see there, there's a drainage ditch. And when King put that in, they had too much elevation in that road, that needed to be cut out, a swell put in there, so that water connects it to the west. To the west. Yes. That was what was on it.
I don't know about the swale.
The swell, just a general ditch, I'll just carry that water out there, be the cheapest and fastest way to get it done.
Are we gonna have him look at the north side of town?
Well, I think what John said is
If
the
I were
railroad.
you guys, I would get a hold of the Union Pacific and I can get you a contact and start just, we can write a letter on behalf of the township. The city can write a letter and put some pressure on that way. And maybe that'll alleviate some costs to you guys. And then if there is some burden, then you can hire him or they can hire him or, but I would put pressure on them that way. Would that be correct, attorney?
Yes.
I mean, they got the way deeper pockets than you got. I'd
Yeah,
love
they
to
got
have
money
to
to
work.
burn.
I'd love to have to work it. If it gets down, we do it. If they're willing to do that, I would rather do it.
Appreciate some kind of numbers, so that's something to work with, okay?
Yep.
And it might have to be let out for bid,
Yeah, might have to-
depending on how that number comes in, so. That doesn't mean that you can't bid on it, but that just means that that's the process.
Is that the county, so let's get into that. Is that a county, is that the Canton policy that asks you after bid or what's the?
State law.
Unless it's below a certain figure, correct?
Lower than you want.
Okay, let's move on. The next subject is renaming of your own park.
Oh, no, that one.
No,
You didn't get it amended.
We've already, that's been taken care of.
I was like, where's
Last
that?
year.
Where's
That was the original agenda.
Okay,
Sorry.
We're
Okay.
good. We're good now.
okay.
We have the CDs next.
Okay, we've got the two CDs at the Citizen State Bank. Can you hear me, Tina? Barely?
Keep that up.
Okay, we have two CDs at the Citizen State Bank. The maturity date was August 23rd, and I'm not sure, the original amount, I think we're somewhere around 54,000. So we need to decide, are we going to put that back into a CD with a higher rate, like we did those others, or cash it out? And there's two of them. The other one matured September 7th. And that was more like, it was under 50,000. Yeah, you'd be close to 100,000. But, you know, I would say we definitely need to do something, not let them sit there at the 1.9 interest rate.
Yeah.
Well, we can go 5%.
Are they willing to go up on the interest rate?
We'll have, I mean, we'd have to,
All I've asked.
Do we want to keep them separate or do we want to combine them?
Well, I would combine them.
as they go to higher interest rate.
The key to me is we stagger those dates first. Shall we say?
Well, you've got some in already.
We have some in at State Bank and we have some in Citizens Bank. At Citizens, presently we have $200,000 CDs. And I was thinking about going ahead and putting in another $100,000 in CDs and let it work for us. Scott thought we could, Scott Lloyd thought that we could take as many as $3.25 million CDs from
This state bank.
the State Bank. I'm a little concerned about that, only still, you know, I have some information about how the swing is. But, you know, last month, our total went down, what, to 98,000?
980,000.
Which, that's the lowest it's been in.
Well, I would say keep them separate if you can't better your percentage rate. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to put.
I'm sure we can get 5%.
Okay, but is it gonna make a difference if you put it in 50,000 increments or 100,000?
Well, it's a good question.
Probably more the term.
Yeah.
The term can be different with the rates, not the amount.
So
I mean, once you get way up there.
influx of money as you're going periodically, not
I
all the
guess,
same damn
I think we just need a motion whether we wanna put them back into CDs or cash them out, I don't. It's just up for discussion, so.
Yeah, but if we're gonna, I mean, I'd like to put them back in if we're getting a higher rate, right?
Well,
Like we did before,
Yeah,
the last ones.
yeah, but we can't just let these sit.
No.
You're only gonna get the 1.9, so.
We need to be making
On
more
motion,
money.
when we reinvest our CDs into CDs.
At a higher interest.
At a higher interest rate.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded to take the CDs that matured on the 23rd, 8/23/24 and 9/7/24 into one CD of $100,000. Do I hear
I second.
and the motion has been seconded, so how do we want to vote?
Did we roll call?
Well, no,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
So Earl, you'll go.
I will take care of it. Employee health insurance, which is a key thing.
And last week, I gave out paperwork. I think the employees have some paperwork. Everybody's got some pieces of paper. Anyway, I would at least like to try to make a motion to go forward with one of those plans this evening. And then we can talk about how it would be handled or.
And I know I spoke with you, you said those rates were pretty much gonna be the same.
Yeah.
On that one.
Pretty close, yeah.
Let's see.
So you basically wanna know which
I would just like us-
plan we wanna go with.
Yeah, I would like to at least nail it down tonight on if we
Right,
wanna go
sure.
with the Blue Cross, the Aetna, I think we were leaning towards the Blue Cross, but they have options A, B, C, and D.
Well,
And the health assessment came back and that wasn't gonna give any benefit, so.
so we're looking at 5,000.
Who's that need?
No, it's more like 5,900.
Then that's,
Is that the number you use?
no,
No.
because the numbers that we had before on the, in particular, looking at the Blue Cross Blue Shield for option A is $5,267 and
I
11
had
cents.
an adjustment on there.
I think it's on the back.
Oh, here we go, yeah, very bad.
Yeah, it's on the back page. I thought she gave it on the back page, yeah.
This is what we're looking
Yeah, that one there, yeah.
We don't have to have it.
at. So we're still way under.
I mean, it's for what it covers, it's.
Okay, now is that including vision on that one?
No, that includes dental, but
Okay.
the vision would be, it was probably another $20.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Somewhere in there,
Okay,
so,
1,500.
yeah.
1,500.
I would just like to at least pinpoint it on which one.
All my notes are on the other one. Okay, vision, okay. I personally like Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, same here.
And you said it includes dental, not vision? Or vision,
Yeah,
not-
this price here does, but I think I gave you.
And we're saying $20 more for vision.
I can get it.
Maybe.
Well, in either case, we're looking at a savings of about $23,000 from what we're presently spending a year. That's what the savings would be.
So,
Yes.
And the coverage is
Almost
very
the same.
similar.
It's very, very similar.
You've got a little higher deductible. I think it was $200 per person.
Was it-
But it's very comparable.
What was it, is it now 800 or 850 currently? And it brings it up to 1,000.
I thought it was 800.
Is it 800? Oh, it's the first page.
I thought it was
Right
200
now,
per
it's
person.
860 per family.
Yeah, it's really,
I'll make a motion to go with the Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Which option?
Probably option A.
I'll second Blue Cross Blue Shield, option A.
The motion has been made, and seconded. Go ahead and issue a agreement to Blue Cross Blue Shield for
Option A.
option A. All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess that's good.
Thank you.
We're supposed to talk about job description.
It was tabled from previous meetings.
No, I'm not very good at writing, but I will attempt to redo all of those.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Problem solved.
We're not gonna argue.
Yeah. Problem solved.
Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
now we're into your paperwork.
The trash rates. Remember to speak up.
MASWU trash rates.
I'm really not hard of hearing, it's just.
No.
No, we want you to hear. We want you to know, yeah.
Is that loud now?
You're even better tonight.
So this was tabled, I believe, from last meeting, until you could see percentages. I am no mathematician, so I believe everything is correct. I looked at the percent that we are making per trash cart compared to the price solid waste charges, and also compared to the price the city charges. Out of that, why I say making is because we pay a per trash cart rate to solid waste, but then on top of that, we also pay fuel charges and certain roll-off fees and things like that. I could print some bills if that's needed. But it looks like in the past years, so from 2022 to 2023, for some odd reason, and I did not verify with anybody, this is just what was in the computer, but it looks like solid waste price went down, and then our price stayed the same. So there was a little bit more of a profit to that, yeah. And then from 23 to 24, there was a significant jump for solid waste. And we just went up some, I think, looks like to match that in comparing. So for the comparison from 2024 to 2025, solid waste gave us their price increase, what it will be on January 1st, which you won't see until your February 1st bill. I put our current city cost or charge in the 2025. So this is the comparison price-wise in 2025. If solid waste price goes up and our charge does not change, this is the price there.
So we need to look at an increase at January 1st.
I think we tried with the trash company.
Oh, the third column I did not mark. That is a monetary change. So the change from one year to the next year for solid waste price, if it goes up or down, that was a dollar amount. So it looks like the solid waste cost didn't go up drastically. It went up some, but from last year, I'd have to do per cart. He's been in it.
I'll make a motion, we just trade with the trash company as they go up. We go up, so we can keep our profits.
Just a second though, just as somebody who's does the billing, do you want to trend on a percentage? So if you see on your sheet, it says what our percentage is. It's like 20.
Right. The last 2 years, it was about 26% for a
Yeah.
single cart. This coming year, if we do not change our price, it will be 22.5.
So yeah, so do you
But
want to,
they're all different based on 1 cart, 2 carts, 3 cart. We currently don't have anybody that has 4 carts, but it's a part of our system. So we have
so
to
you
have a
either
price.
can trend with the percentage, so whatever you're gonna make your trash rate goes up is gonna stay with the percentage that we're at now.
Okay, what if
And you can figure out that math, or you just go up by a whole number, $2, $1. But if you just say we wanna go up, then we need to know
need a
what
number.
it needs to go up by, and those would be your options.
So what do you suggest?
If you do hard.
I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
On a quick look,
Revisit it, if you do that, you just wanna maintain your margins, that's a
Yes.
one-time thing.
Right, and that's what I said.
Until you wanna increase.
Yeah, so you would stay with that percentage, and then we would just do the math, and it would be,
So our
we just have to know what
margin
it
is here, because this is 2024, so this is our margin here.
So
it looks like solid waste went up exactly 4.7% on each cart price. So the single cart rate from last year, they increased it 4.7%.
so we could, whatever our percentage now, we could go up 4.7, match theirs that way.
But if
And
we
come
take,
up with
I mean,
it.
like, we can also make it a percentage of 29%.
So we'll just
Yeah.
Don't include the hard number, just say if they, unless you wanna address this next year. with another
Yeah.
motion.
You just stay with the
We say with a
percentage.
percentage above 20, like, we say with 29%. So if they raise their rates, right, next
Yep.
year, we're still going to increase
It would
it
just
29%.
automatically increase.
Yeah.
Or
That-
30%.
So
if you
that,
get it.
so that our margin is 29%.
So our margin would be the same percentage every year, whether they increase, decrease, that's not gonna happen, but we can hope. Then our margin would be the same at 29?
Well, I was gonna say as this year, because
Or
they're
do we do-
different per cart.
Exactly.
Right, that's why I said. trade with.
He's right, just leave it as it is. Stick with that,
We'll leave it as it is.
with his motion.
No, with his
Yeah,
motion,
make your motion.
with
So
his
that,
motion
yeah, your
of
motion.
motion that we trend with, McPherson solid waste code.
So we up ours the same percentage they up theirs every year? Okay, okay.
We just maintain that percentage.
I'll make a second motion on
The motion has been made and seconded that we maintain the consistent percentage as the, shall we say, as we are given pay raises to the trash company, we will maintain a percentage consistent to that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That percentage.
Well, their price went up 4.7% from last year to the next year. I'm sorry, who's second?
Okay.
All right, maintenance. It's got a wild month of Danny getting hurt and summer help going back to school. I'm not reading from the book. That's just my general what I've done. We did get someone hired that's helping out now, and she's working out really well. Go get her. And so really appreciate getting her in and helping out. We have potholed through the first pallet of the bag mix that Earl wanted to try. It works out pretty well. Looking at, and that's going to be one of my questions for you, with looking at Wilson doing potholes, do we still want to go and get another pallet next week?
I think we need it.
Okay.
Are we gonna use that coal pack though?
No, we're using the mix.
A mix, okay.
Well, it's coal patch.
It's, well,
It's bagged coal patch instead of bulk coal patch. Either way, it's coal patch.
Is that what he advised us to use?
the key with this stuff is that you don't have to fight it. It's almost self-leveling, almost does. But you can see it migrates.
And the bag stuff has versus the bulk has a chemical property in it that softens up the rest of the asphalt that's there, and so which makes it bond better. So you're going to get a more complete bond. Whether the other stuff, I mean, it's kind of oil to oil sticking. This stuff actually softens and becomes one with the existing. So I will go and get another pallet of that next week and keep on rolling with it. Otherwise, it's been weed eating, mowing, and did have had a couple issues at the sewer plant wanting not to operate correctly, but they finally got all the signals and bugs worked out of it. Where it continues to flow downhill.
Okay.
It continues to flow downhill.
So, how many people are actually giving water samples here in town to you on a regular basis? Is there anybody giving you water samples or anything, or is that just a one-time deal?
The one right now is a once every 3 years for lead and copper. We take 2 water samples for BACT for your bacteria and stuff from different. There's a set list, but we take 2 of those from different houses every month.
Okay.
So, still waiting on. Got 9 of the water samples back. The one guy that was going to help has backed out, so I'm got a phone call to the guy that's an alternate. So I'm hoping I hear back from him, so we can get those sent in. Took the sewer testing, passed the sewer testing, so I am certified level 1 operator, both water and sewer.
Okay.
And so that's been kind of the, last month we talked about looking in at possibly cleaning the wells, having them tested so they were cleaned correctly. Ned Marks that was mentioned earlier from Terrain Resources, just happened to be in the office the other day and we got to talking with him. And he put together a proposal where he would come in. We would take 2 different water samples from each well, one at the beginning of the pump running, one an hour into the pump running. So you're testing different water levels. And that'll tell us what bacteria is and what stuff is down there, so you can get a pinpoint of how to treat the wells. And then once we get that, it'll be a matter of coming up with the process of how we need to treat them, how we need to clean them. That proposal he sent to us was $8,925 to sample both wells and for his consulting fee. And he thinks, with visiting with him, some of the air issues and some of the muck that we're having can be solved by the proper, and kind of like I talked last month, that some of that has got to do with the bacteria in the bottom of the well, and we get those cleaned up, and that should alleviate a lot of those issues. So, but like I said, it's, I mean, just shy of $9,000 just to evaluate, and then it would be a matter of, once the evaluation, figure out what the process is going to be, and then finding a water company that has the time to get out. I mean, as Galva's found, and as Doug was talking earlier, the well drillers in the state of Kansas are few and far between anymore. So, I mean, we could have the answers of the bacteria next week, and it may be 6-8 months or longer before we can get anybody that can come in and actually do something about it. So
Will that help in all the cloudiness?
that's the air. That's what the cloudiness is. That there's extra air in the lines.
Because it's almost gone from cloudy to milky.
Right, and that's still if you let that glass, it'll clear just as quick. And it's just oxygen in the water.
Yeah.
And he's saying some of that has to do with the bacterias that are in there are letting off oxygen, and by treating those and getting rid of those bacteria and getting them in check, that will reduce.
So you wanna know if we wanna spend that 9,000?
Right, if you notice, that's something we want to continue to pursue at this time and then go, once we get answers there, figure out what the next part of
The issue, I guess, is.
we got I haven't had time to make, but there's the proposal he's got.
He emailed me to give a copy to Earl. Earl asked me to give a copy to Nick, so those two have seen it and discussed it a little bit.
Well, my concern is this. I propose that we do this only as a stopgap measure, because if we're not able to do anything with the funds coming down from the state for 6 months or whatever that duration might be, let's try to eliminate the problem we have right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, and that's kind of what, I mean, because like he said, I mean, we may not get started on the actual water project, even the test drilling, till next summer. And then you're gonna have, 6 months, a year to get the job complete. I mean, you're looking 26 to 27 before that's actually up and going. And if we can get this done within 6-9 months, then at least for that time period, we're gonna have better water.
I guess my question for the attorney would be, do we have to bid this out? Is this under or over?
For the total amounts, it would be fine with where he's at. They're individually pieced out, so no, this wouldn't have to be bid out.
Okay. Well, motion that we go ahead and spend the money on testing and the plan of the wells.
What kind of time frame?
He didn't give an inkling. He's one of the few, if not only, in the state that does this stuff. So
So we're not looking at 6 months out, right? That's what I'm
we
saying.
can hope.
Okay, so that's,
I mean,
The key is the fact that we'll have to have the wells pulled, okay? And everything.
well, in this part, eventually, for this part, we're just gonna test waters.
Yeah. But if you, when you get down to cleaning it up.
Right, then we'll have to pull wells and do all that. So, you know.
And at that point, it's a matter of who can do that for you.
Right.
And we should have some people quite capable of that here in town, actually.
yeah,
If they would choose to do that.
Yeah.
For those wells. And maybe they'd have a job on the side, so. Okay, there you go. So we have a motion and a second to tell them, Marks, that he can proceed on the treatment of these wells. I guess we'll just have to vote on that.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Okay. Is that it?
That's what I got. That's all I got.
Mary?
I did call and talk to a lady at the Cat House in McPherson and was asking her how they go about, funding some of their things, how do they go about getting the grants and everything else for the feral cats here in town. And she basically said that what they start out doing is having the city put a portion of money together on how many cats you want to have fixed. So there's a lot out there, but to start out with a certain amount of funding for the year, and then do as many as you can within that funding. She did say that she would look up some grants for us and give me some ideas of what I need to do and everything. And she said she would sit down and talk to me about that. And she also offered cat food that I could distribute to people who are feeding the feral cats here in town that we could get. She has a company out of Kansas City that she has a grant with, which we could do the same thing. So she's going to sit down and try to show me that as well, she said. And I think that's about it. It's just if we want to have a trap day, she would bring volunteers over from McPherson to come, and we would trap as many as we could in one day. So then we can get them to the facility because they like to get them in and out. They do not want them staying there overnight or anything else. They would go ahead and clip their ear, however they do that. That's what they did to the mom feral cat that we have taken in first. So I guess what I need to know is what the city would be willing to start out as far as money-wise. I'm not asking for much. I mean, I was told around $3,000 to $3,500 for a year, and we do as many cats as we can, and then we look into grants, which would cover other expenses as well. She said it'll take time, but she's willing to sit down with me and go through all that stuff with me. So I did touch base with her on Monday. She finally got back with me because she's just kind of in and out doing things. I know Galva, I am going to talk to Mary Steffes in Galva because they're having the same problem over there. They were actually thinking about bringing in a mobile unit from Marion to just do them on site. So once they catch them, they could just do them right there on site. And then, I know there's a lot of people that ain't gonna like it, but you put these cats right back where they came from. And not unless there's farmers that will take them or whatever, but they still need to be fixed. And I know there's not people that's happy about this or whatever, but here, there again, irresponsible pet owners, not taking care, of the situation, and it's just gotten out of hand. And I try to feed at several different spots, and make sure that they're being fed. It's not fair to them to have to starve, so that's where I'm at on that.
I have a question, Mary.
Yes.
As far as the traffic and such, and this mobile thing you're talking about, if that's a possibility.
Right.
Well, that's more or less what the vets do anyway.
Exactly. Right.
'Cause they-
And we can trap and take in also. Yeah.
So you know for sure that this mobile unit would be.
Well, I haven't talked to Mary Steffes yet because she lives in Galva and they're having the same kind of cat problem we are. So she just told me about her. So me and Mary's going to try to get together next week because she's wanting to handle that over in Galva as well. So it's just an idea that we threw up for that, to make it a possibility to just do it on site. That way there's no, which I don't mind taking the cats over anyway. It's not a big, I'm not going to charge anything for anything at all, period. I did ask her about vets and everything. She said that the vets in McPherson are quite a bit tied up in doing this. Jess Shear is the one who reached out to me about this problem. And I think her rates are more than fair. I did throw them by the cat house lady. I have her name at home. I can't remember what it is. But she said with Jess doing with the fees that she's charging plus giving the cats the 2 shots that they need, the rabies and distemper, is very fair in her opinion. Very fair. And for her to reach out to us is good as well. So as far as being compare, I mean, yeah, if you're a resident in McPherson, you're going to get a little cheaper. But there again, we're not residents in McPherson, and they only give out vouchers to certain people. And that might be something, if we can get some grant money going, that we can give these people here in town an incentive. Okay, if you'll take your cat in to get it fixed, here's a voucher for $30-40 for you to be able to take it in and get it fixed. So that's another thing that we've discussed also.
Last time I took one in, it cost me $100.
Yeah.
That's been picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jess is charging $100 for females, and that's with rabies and distemper shots along with it. And then for males, it's $75 for rabies and distemper. And she's only charging us for what she's using, the materials that she's using. She's not charging for her time. And there's probably 4 or 5 people that sit back there. I went in one day, I guess the lady in Newton had passed away that ran the facility. And they had 30 cats that needed to go somewhere to get fixed. So Jess had them bring them in that day. And I'm telling you, there was cats everywhere. And they were cute. But anyway, so that's where I'm at on that.
Now, are we legally bound that we have to put it out there to the public that we have a cat, we have a dog?
Well,
And
that's,
are-
I know we
can we
discussed
get
that, as far as, sometimes I think that,
Well, I mean,
and I know there's abundance of cats in town and everything, but I kind of think with the dog too. I mean, if you own a cat, or whatever, you need to be responsible for it. I know it's a lot harder with cats because they just roam. They roam,
That would be the concern, is that you end up with somebody's pet.
Well,
I mean, there's some places where it's obvious, these are feral cats.
And those are the places I'm dealing with. I'm not going to go up in somebody's yard and say, "Oh, hey, I'll take your cat, go get it." You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm going to go to the places that I know, and I know who feeds. Like I know you do, and I know over on Grove Street feeds. I feed. There's another lady across town that feeds. Terry Bandy feeds. I have permission to go put a house and everything on his property as well from him here in town, so I feed there as well. So there's several places that we do feed. I try to cover every bit that I can, and if there's like a lady had told me that she fed, and I said, okay, I'll make sure that you get food, and if you need food, because they get such an abundance over there at the cat house that they can't use it up in time. And once it expires over there, and it's still good, but they can't use it in the cat house because it's restricted in the cat house. So that's why she's able to pass it on to us. So.
I didn't know we had a problem. I don't see any around our house.
Oh my goodness.
You have been to Casey's?
Yeah, and if you go by, I've seen him over at Earl's house. He's got a cute little mama and babies over there. Over at Landis's, well, it used to be Landis, but Anderson's house or Regere's house. And then over around Brian Poor's house, he lets me feed on his property. And in return, I give him a bag of cat food whenever he needs it because, you know, he's allowing me. And then Terry Bandy lets me feed on his property over there in this little container. So.
Could you maybe think that since the city has a leash law for a dog?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I agree 100% because, you know, it's not fair to the cats to you know, for, you know, people to be hateful or mean to them because it's not their fault. They didn't ask to be here and they didn't ask for people not to make sure they're fixed or whatever. So I agree 100%. Yes.
Another quick comment. I have one indoor solid, she's never been outside, and another one that's in and out, but I have a collar on her.
Right,
a
right.
highlighted collar.
Right,
Not
right.
tag
Didn't
or
we have some
anything, just
donated collars for cats?
Yeah, Mark
And the
has
puppy
it,
dog cookie jar in there, if anybody wants.
Someone donated collars for cats, so if someone needs one,
We still have them here?
Yeah.
that's what I was asking, I think we do.
Yeah, and the only thing about, they do not recommend putting feral cats, collars on feral cats.
These are,
Because,
These are only
Right,
cats, so
right,
that
okay.
you would know.
right,
these are also breakaway collars.
right,
So
but
that's a little bit.
But the thing is, they'll just go crazy trying to get them off of them. And I've got a mama cat, the first one that we got fixed. If anybody feels they want to come put a collar on her, feel free to, because I'm telling you, she's wicked. I don't think I've ever dealt with a more wicked cat in my life. Yep. But anyway, so that's what I found out on that.
Did you have some meetings next week?
Yes. So that's all I got.
I just wanna put Shiloh on the radar. We need to, I guess we had Willie Crane come and talk to us and tell us that there's stuff in there that we could be getting out.
He basically said that there wasn't anything in there
Well,
worth.
he said there's still doors, there's those church pews, there's a few things. I don't,
He said the church pews, but there maybe is one good one.
okay.
And that's if you're lucky, but most of them are broken and things, it's just, yeah.
Everything.
They were nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Had the windows not got broken in the rain.
But don't we have to have some of that out in order for somebody to come?
I don't know.
I thought that was part of some of this,
Building would have to be lifted.
yeah.
Well, it might just depend on who you talk to.
I mean, if you're demolishing it, it would all go into a bin.
Well,
Yeah,
it
and
depends on what rate you wanna pay for the disposal. If you take all the household, what they call household stuff out, you pay a lower rate for demolition debris. But if you keep everything in there, it's a higher rate with all the other stuff that's in, with the household stuff that's in it. So to get rid of, if we demoed it and paid for them to dispose of it, it's cheaper if everything's out. But we would also have the added cost of getting everything out. So I don't know where the wash would be on that.
Cost and hazard.
Right,
Nick, you wanna
absolutely.
go in there and drag shit out? Cause I don't. I've been in there.
I know, so did I. It's kind of scary.
I mean,
I worked there,
Problem
so the
is,
hallways are kind of scary.
you have asphalt floors, tile, that's all asphalt. I mean, that's.
Did we ever
It's
get?
asbestos. And then it's got asbestos on it. Wherever that's at, I imagine it's down the hallways.
probably, it's-
Yeah, So it's gonna be an expensive
Did we ever
situation.
get actual bids?
Bids for this.
Nobody would bid it.
Nobody would bid it.
I talked to locally,
But what about that one guy that usually does?
Poe,
Yeah.
he wasn't even interested.
You know, honestly, what I say we do is we try to recover the cost that we spent on selling it or buying it. Get our money back out of it, let somebody else deal with the headache.
But it's out of,
It's not.
it's not in code.
Right.
So if we give it to somebody else, they are either gonna have to put it in code or we will condemn it and have to demolish it.
Well, that's a good question.
Well,
Earl, would you care to answer that?
What?
I have no clue.
Well,
Yeah.
if it's not in code now, how was it ever in code when the city
Right.
purchased
because
it?
if we, no matter what, we would have had to have paid for it to be demolished. Either we didn't own it, but we paid to have it demolished, or we own it and pay to have it demolished, but then we own it. That makes sense?
The thing is, and this is my opinion, is when they sold their house property on Main Street, they should have had to give that money to tear Shiloh down instead of being able to put that in their pocket. And the city council before
If
that
what's done is done.
bought it.
but,
So, right, but I agree with you. We need to be doing something with it because it's the biggest eyesore in town when you drive in.
I think if we want to demolish, we'll have to look further out, Wichita, maybe even Kansas City for demo crews that are, because most of the guys around here, like Pope looked at it before the city bought it, and he drove by it and said, I don't know, 60,000. And then when they tried to put the hard nails to him, he's like, well, I didn't really look at it, so he goes, I don't know how solid a number it is. I called 4 or 5 different guys around here that do that kind of work and only had one of them that showed up. And he walked through it and goes, I'm not even going to give you a bid because there's too much here for, he goes, I could do it, but it would take so long. He goes, but you know, like in Wichita, Cornell and Sons, they've got crews that just demo stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
started looking at bigger crews that specialize in that stuff. I mean, but you're probably looking $100 to $150,000 to demo it.
But something's got to be done. Just can't be sitting there. I mean, anybody can go in there, you know, and things like that. And do we want that on our conscience? And somebody goes in there that's not supposed to be, or no, exactly. So
Okay, let's continue.
Oh, well, I wanted
Something.
to, were we gonna touch on the, well, were we gonna touch on the planning and zoning?
We are.
Okay, all right.
They're right there.
I wanna turn mine over to the city attorney, cause I'd like to get where we're at on that. There's the Fisher Park, that is gonna be going to the sheriff's cell.
And as of today, they still don't have a date on that, and they're talking about sometime after the 1st of January. So
Okay.
we're a little ways away on that, so if you guys wanna think about it, there's still some time.
That we would
But
have to pay the back taxes.
back taxes on that are owed right now of $939.23. For Fisher Park, the cheapest way to go about doing it, if you want to do a property acquisition and have the city basically take it over, would be that we have to reinstate the Historical Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to get the Historical Society brought back back online so that we could have somebody with the authority to deed it over to the city. So you're
She
just
was
looking,
in touch
I was in touch with her. She's on board with that, but there's gonna be some costs, but that's an insolvent organization. So obviously the city's gonna have to bear the cost then of having to bring them back up and reinstate them. So overall, you're probably looking at $1,000, $1,500 with filing fees.
After.
So filing fees to get an organization back on track, create the documentation. Most of that's just my time, so. And then the back taxes, so you're looking at about probably $2,000-ish in order to bring that online. So if the city wants to, if the council wants to move forward with that, I would need a motion, because it is basically property acquisition. So,
Well, what happens if you buy it at the auction?
you're
And
just,
they give you a quick deed on the spot.
yeah, this is just where you've got, kind of a cap on your cost. If it's up for a public auction, which that would be at the sheriff's sale, anybody could be bidding against the city on that. So you run the risk of it bringing more than that, or
Sure.
not knowing where it's gonna be.
It's not a big enough parcel to build on.
If somebody could just want a big yard.
I'd take a
Obviously.
gamble.
Yeah.
Buy it.
Yeah.
Didn't they do a sheriff sale on the north side of town? Weren't there lots bought for like $1 or something like that years ago?
What'd you, yes.
So
Empty lot there on 303.
we could spend $1,000
I
or
didn't have
$2,000,
that.
or we could spend $1.
I didn't get mine for $1. Nobody else bid.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's the option.
And that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the sheriff.
That's who Nina's working with, because I called her today. Is it a sheriff's sale or a tax sale?
Sheriff's.
Well, so it's gonna be the sheriff's sale.
Well, that's different than a tax sale.
Everybody I've talked to said that there's no auction set on any of this,
On
because
the tax sale, there is.
because the county attorney has not initiated the filings yet, so.
I was wondering if it was right. At a sheriff's sale, you're liable for all the taxes.
So we would have to pay the taxes.
Well, even if we buy it, we still have to pay the back
I've never
taxes.
seen it.
Well, I'm bringing it up.
Did you pay taxes? Did you buy the taxes? No.
I think the city tore it, got it torn down, the house.
That's the city.
So the city ended up taking the brunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the museum property, did we get that?
We've got a deed ready to go, I just need to be in touch with the folks to get it signed and deed it over, so I think we had a motion on that already.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so we're good to go, I just need to get it
Okay.
across.
Okay. And then, Mr. Lacy and the Camden.
We will visit about his issue, him and I can, so we do have some progress on it. so.
Okay,
good.
Okay, great, okay, I'm done.
Rhonda, were you gonna ask about the Legion? Or,
Oh, well, shoot. yes.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah,
I have a resolution
Okay.
made for it, so.
all right, yeah, we need to vote on this resolution for Main Street Bar and Grill and American Legion to extend their premises for the Heritage Days.
And it does have to be two separate resolutions, one for the bar and one for the Legion, because it has to be filed with the state based on the liquor license.
And then also to barricade or
Well,
block off the appropriate streets, so. I think we found last year's, so.
Yeah. I have them if anybody wants to read them over, but literally we changed the dates. And they're the exact same as the
So what
resolutions.
resolutions are they?
So the first one, we approved already, but we didn't have the resolution typed, because I didn't know the process, so I have a resolution now for alcohol consumption in the park. So it's resolution 2024-01, supporting Canton Heritage Days in the city of Canton.
2021.
No, 2024-01. We would be approving consumption of cereal malt beverage and alcoholic liquor in the public park from noon to 6 p.m. September 28th, 2024. And consumption of cereal malt beverage and alcoholic liquor on Main Street between McPherson Street and Allen Street from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. We'll leave it match. 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm sorry. September 29th. So that is the first resolution. And like I said, we did approve. It starts on the 28th, but because it goes to 1 a.m., it's through the 29th, through 1 a.m. on the 29th.
So we already approved that one.
But we didn't have the resolution number.
Right.
And it wasn't typed out, because I
So
didn't know
you
the process.
basically approved it to approve it, if that
Right.
makes sense, but
Yeah.
the official approving needs to be with these resolutions.
And that's
So
all
now
three.
we have resolution.
That's just one, there's three,
So
2 with the state and 1 with the with the
this
county.
one is basically to, forgive my word choice, amend our city rules for this time period. And then the next resolution is 2024-03, and that is for the Kansas statute to be amended, I guess, I don't know the word for that, temporarily for this time. And we do have to send an application to the state, to the ABC liquor licensing, and they have to approve that liquor can be in that area. 2024-03 is for the bar, and then 2024-04 is the exact same, it's just for the Legion.
Sell
Sorry.
and consume on the
This was a process.
at 4:30.
We thought we had it all done and then. Okay, so we need to motion for Main Street. Well, we,
Which have to be done separately.
And you need to motion the
resolution number.
resolution number, so you're gonna motion to approve resolution 2024-1, 2023, and then 03 and 04. Each one has to be done
Sorry.
with the resolution number.
That does not mean to say we have to say what they are, except that
No,
they
just
are
resolution.
resolutions and the number.
2024-01.
Yeah, and anybody can read them if they want, I only printed one.
Yeah, Christine, go ahead. I'm on a roll, let's just keep going.
So that first one is,
No, yeah, literally you just.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not gonna read it, but I have to see the numbers.
Yeah.
I can say it.
So I make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-01. Do I need to read anything else from
No,
that?
yeah, we gotta vote on that.
A motion has been made
I'll second.
and seconded to approve resolution number 2024-01. All those in favor?
Aye. Next?
Yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-03.
Second.
The resolution. Oh, gosh. A motion has been made and seconded to approve resolution number 2024-03. All those in favor?
Aye. And then I make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-04.
Second.
Tongue twister.
Anyhow, the motion has been made to approve resolution 2024-04. All those in favor?
Aye. Thanks for reminding me.
Yes.
I'm done.
We spent, maybe not a lot of time necessarily, but a
A lot of
lot of
research.
frustration.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we have in front of us all but one member.
He couldn't make it tonight or he would have been here.
I
Sorry.
figured that much.
Yeah.
Anyhow, for the planning and zoning committee. John. I can't forget.
Introduce yourselves.
John Shear.
David Tripp.
Tyler Lacey.
And then Dan Smith will be one, and
Casey.
Casey Jowers will be the other. And you guys can make up a schedule of, if you wanna have a meeting once a month or whatever.
Do you have any bylaws, or, I mean, what do you, ordinances, what do you have to?
If there
What are our rules?
I'll have to look into it.
That's where free will, best of luck.
Hey, you're my neighbor. I know where you
I
live.
appreciate you gentlemen coming.
Is there are you gonna have a councilman liaison for the committee, or a councilman on there?
It can also be the mayor.
Yeah, it can be the mayor.
It can be the mayor.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, just let me know.
Yep.
Okay.
I know there's some books in there, John, with.
Yeah, well, I'll try to look too and see, probably something from like 1989, but it'll get you started.
I just have a little bit,
Oh,
not a lot. It's
Thank
okay.
you.
Thanks. So I just have a couple little things. I'll be fast. I want to remind everybody that we're still trying to figure out bi-weekly pay. Earl and I discussed it. We wanted to talk with Reese more about going over the employee handbook or policy and procedure manual, and going through each one and making sure nothing needs updated or changed, or no laws have changed, or making things make sense, because some of them don't. Just want to put back on the table, I have started a list of software companies that are either recommended or not, from Anita, who does our city aid, which is a contract we have for like software assistance. And also from the city clerk chat group, several people have said yes or no, or they want to pull their hair out after they switched. So I have a list for that. And then I got an email, I can forward it to everybody, but I just wanted to mention it. It's about a resolution. It is from, I believe, McPherson. Yeah, McPherson Foundation. They're looking at a reverse scholarship in order to get graduates to basically stay at a job within the county. I have not looked over all of the rules, but I have it if anybody wants to see it, or I can forward it to somebody. But she has already typed up the resolution if we wanted to approve or deny it after we look into it. That's all I got.
Very good.
So on the bi-weekly, are you ready to run with that, or do you?
I need several questions answered based on how the employee handbook says we pay, or accrue comp time, or
Those are serious issues.
because I would have, yeah. I just wanted to bring it back up so that if somebody had questions or concerns, or
Keep it fresh.
yeah. Also, I spoke with our collections agency, and they're gonna get me a list of who we have sent to collections, so that I can look at who we haven't sent, so that I can try to get some accounts sent. Right now, we have, I think it was $8,600 in utility billing to customers that don't live at that address anymore. Pretty nice.
Motion adjourned.
I haven't either.
I'll second that.
Nope, go ahead.
The motion has been made.
Aye.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I expect to see you run into his arms when you're outside.
I can get them tomorrow if you're gonna come in the morning. Yep.
Oh, we got the substitute
These
team
are
tonight.
the meeting minutes.
The not
From our
marked.
last regular meeting.
Can't go a shift without at least 7. You're not marked. Now I know, I'm well aware. It's all right. I'm marked and the trooper that didn't.
These are the meeting
Yeah.
minutes for the special meeting of August 29th. I'm with you. This one's for the month, this is all the checks I wrote down in and out.
Right, it's 9 o'clock.
This is resolution 2024-01 for what's it for? Heritage Days. I couldn't think what it was called. Oh, one is. Oh, 3 is for bar.
Actually have this thing. I was thinking I want to totally introduce myself. I'm Leslie Manning. I put together the Santa Fe Way. Or the locality,
I know, I was giving you
And
that.
then here's 04, it's the exact same as 3.
It was only a year ago, I think. Actually, so, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I'm like, okay, I said you had like, oh,